All right, hello Tri-Cities and welcome to the 2020 Candidate Forum, the only business-focused candidate forum in Tri-Cities, brought to you by the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. During this forum, you will be hearing from the candidates in the running for the Washington State House of Representatives in the 16th District, Position 1. I'm Madeline Hagan with Cap KVU News in Kennewick. I'm so happy to be with you all. Early voting again, remember, starts ballots will be appearing in mailboxes on October 13th and runs through Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Thank you for joining us again to hear the candidates' thoughts on issues that matter to the Tri-Cities community. And now a message from the President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce, Lori Matson.
As the foremost advocate and voice for business, the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce leads by advancing policies and positions that strengthen, preserve, and promote a thriving business climate, economy, and quality of life. The 2020 candidate forums are designed to highlight how candidate positions integrate with local business priorities. I'd like to take a brief moment to thank the Chamber's Board of Directors and Local Government Affairs Committee for their leadership in supporting our advocacy efforts. I'm especially pleased and grateful for the support of the candidate forum sponsors, Cascade Natural Gas, GISA Credit Union, JLH Group, and Hayden Homes. And last but not least, a very special thanks to our local news partners for collaborating on this project. Your time, talent, and expertise are valued and truly appreciated.
All right, Lori, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to serve the community by providing opportunities for voters to become better informed about the people who are running for public office. So now we're going to move on to the format. Here we go. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening and closing statements. The candidates will be asked the same questions. Response time for each question is limited to 2 minutes. Time limit reminders will appear on screen at 10 seconds remaining, and if necessary, when time is up. Since this is a forum, candidates will not be provided rebuttal time. All right, so it looks like we're ready to get started. Let's go ahead and begin by introducing in alphabetical order the two candidates in the race for Position 1, Washington State House of Representatives in the 16th District. Candidates Frances Chvatal and Mark Klicker are running for the open seat. Welcome, and thank you both so very much for being here today and taking the time to talk with us. It means a lot. We appreciate both of you. So if you're both ready, let's go ahead and get this started. As I mentioned earlier, we will start with opening statements in alphabetical order. So Ms. Chvatal, we will begin with your opening statement. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you to the sponsors of this event. Hello, my name is Frances Chvatal. I'm a candidate for Position 1 from the 16th District. I was born in Walla Walla, raised on a farm in Toushie, and I went on to WSU where I graduated with a degree in nursing. I've been a registered nurse working in healthcare for 37 years, and I have been asked, can a nurse be an effective legislator? I have spent most of my professional career assessing a problem, making a plan, and recalibrating the plan when needed in order to ensure the best outcome for a patient. Nurses often work in a team, which requires skills in consensus building and communication, but on occasion they work alone during a night shift. This is a good skill set to use in Olympia. Representatives must be able to solve problems and make difficult decisions, but also know how to care for people. I will listen to you, work through an issue, and I will work with anyone to make things better for the people of the 16th.
Right, Mr. Klicker, you now have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mark Klicker. I live in Walla Walla. Our values and our way of life they are eroding, and the decisions over the last few years, led by the majority leadership in the House of Representatives, the State Senate, and our governor's mansion, are putting a stranglehold on our businesses and our farmers throughout Eastern Washington. That has to stop. I'm a farmer, a realtor, and a business owner. I have worked with people to provide employment. I was a director for the Washington Farm Bureau. I've worked with people in Olympia, Washington, D.C. I understand majority of the things going on in Olympia. We need to be able to put people back to work. Business recovery is everything right now as we are working through this coronavirus. We have to continue to keep people working. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much, Mark. Now let's move right on to the question and answer part of this forum. A coin toss just prior to opening this up has determined that Mr. Klicker will answer the first question, and then we will alternate for each subsequent question. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Klicker, question number 1 is this. This has been a year like no other. Our state has been struggling with the coronavirus, economic downturn, severe unemployment, civil unrest, and catastrophic wildfires. How should the legislature address the gaping hole in the state budgets? You have 2 minutes.
As we learned today, the state budget, or projected state budget, we're going to be a deficit. It's not the $9 million they thought before, but it came out today. The state budget deficit is going to be at $4.5 million. The state, the people in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives and the Senate have asked the legislature and the governor to hold a special session. They have not, and they continue to refuse to do so. We are in an emergency situation here, and we can't tax our way back into prosperity. We have to develop business recovery programs, incentive programs to help our businesses recover. And that is, first of all, looking at our budget, both our fiscal budget and our capital expenditure budget. I want to go to Olympia to come up with some ideas, work with both parties to see what we can do to make that happen.
All right, Mr. Klicker, thank you so much. Ms. Chvatal, sorry, we're going to go ahead and reread that question. This has been a year like no other. Our state has been struggling with the coronavirus, economic downturn, severe unemployment, and civil unrest, and the catastrophic wildfires. How should the legislator address the gaping hole in the state budget? Go ahead.
Thank you. I believe the budget is a moral document. The services funded by the state budget can be life-saving for many, especially the poor and marginalized communities. In January, I hope to be new to the legislature, and I will approach the budget process with vigor and with knowledge from my professional experience. I learned fiscal responsibility from my conservative parents, and I take the notion of spending someone else's money very serious. In clinical leadership at St. Mary's here in Walla Walla, I manage several departments with multi-million-dollar budgets. I understand the state budget, state services are not businesses, but the state budget must be balanced, and I have the experience to help with this. We are required to fund programs per the Washington State Constitution, such as public education, and they will take appropriate priority. The burden of the difficult decisions around funding other programs must be created with equity in mind. In general, my discernment process will look like this. Research to understand how a program affects the people of the state. Investigate other funding sources such as grants or the potential CARES 2 package, and question if there are short-term revenue ideas to consider. Lastly, if the program in question is sustainable within the adjusted projections of the COVID economy. As a representative, I will fight for the needs of our community first. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Frances, we're going to go ahead and stick with you. Here is the second question. If you had the opportunity to change the B&O tax without lowering or eliminating it, what change or changes would you make and why? You have 2 minutes. Oh, I think you're on mute.
So sorry.
You're okay.
The business and operation tax is a tax on gross receipts. The B&O tax includes classifications, tax rates, and exemptions. I can't say it's a simple calculation, nor do I have a thorough grasp on its operationalization, but I do understand that it contributes to the state government's ability to fund services and care for its citizens. Washington does not have a state income tax. Everyone knows that at this point, and relies heavily on excise taxes. Approximately 46% of our total tax revenue is created by sales tax. I am open to discussing taxation reform and learning more about the B&O tax specifically. Can it be simplified? Can it be more effective? Could it be temporarily adjusted? How would we make up the revenue it generates and the programs it supports if it does not exist? The revenue that is collected by this tax accounts for approximately 17% of the $9 billion of the state's two-year revenue budget of $53 billion. This is a vital source of income that helps fund our state operations. That said, this year has been extremely difficult for our businesses. The shutdown has caused massive loss in revenue, and as we all know, businesses are the backbone of our economy. Having said all that, this issue is very complicated, and I will approach it with intention and fairness.
All right, thank you so much, Frances. All right, Mr. Klicker, we're going to move on to question number 2 for you. If you had the opportunity to change the B&O tax without lowering or eliminating it, what changes would you make or change would you make, and why? You have 2 minutes.
We are over inundated with taxes, state and federal taxes. Federal income tax, unemployment insurance tax, B&O tax, property tax, industrial insurance, payroll tax, and then the majority right now, they're contemplating looking at increasing the B&O tax, carbon tax, and capital gains taxes. We're taxed enough. We have a spending problem. We have spending on frivolous projects and social programs that are not being evaluated. The Republicans last year put together House Bill 2149, asking the legislature to look at that for a budget analysis committee to evaluate what was used and what programs are working. But right now, they refuse to even let it go into committee. We cannot continue to tax and then spend the money on frivolous capital programs or fiscal budget programs.
All right, Mr. Klicker, thank you. We're going to stick with you for question number 3. There are discussions about imposing new statewide taxes, such as a roads usage charge, a capital gains income tax, a Seattle-based payroll tax, a tax to pay for childcare, wildfire prevention and response tax, and a carbon tax. Do you support any of these taxes, and why or why not? Go ahead.
I do not support any taxes. First of all, what I do support is we need to look at our budget and start cutting back, because government seems to have this habit of growing, and they've grown for years and years and years. They can't stop spending. We have to stop spending. We have to look at what our budget is. I'm a businessman, and I have to live within my means. I just can't go out there. If I have to buy a new piece of equipment to keep my business going, I buy it. But to buy a new living room set so I can enjoy it because that's there, I'm not going to go out there and try and spend the money that's in my operating budget. Can't do it that way. We have to stop on taxes first. We're getting too many of them, and they just continue to habitually go. So no, I'm not going to, I won't say never. If there's necessary programs such as finishing our projects that are current there should be money that we allocate to that. But anything else, we need to look at our budget first.
All right, Mr. Klicker, thank you so much. Ms. Chvatal, we're going to move on to you for question number 3. There are discussions about imposing new statewide taxes, such as a roads usage charge, a capital gains income tax, a Seattle-based payroll tax, a tax to pay for childcare, wildfire prevention and response tax, and a carbon tax. Do you support any of these taxes? Why or why not? Go ahead.
Our state budget is the resource that provides services and infrastructure for the people of the state, and the revenue side of that budget is created primarily by taxation. Everyone's revenue is declined related to COVID-19. Our ports, our counties, our cities, state and federal government. State representatives must work with local municipalities to identify needs and support recovery and development. To increase revenue, we would be wise to consider variances to current rules and ordinances. I would advocate to energize grant writing, and I would assist in the distribution of the CARES 2 funds when and if they become available. Expenses have already been addressed by the executive branch in the form of furloughs, cancellation of pay raises, and the development of plans to decrease departmental budgets. These efforts should be considered with caution, as austerity and cuts are controversial for the long-term effect they may have on our social safety net. Estimates from the Office of Financial Management suggest a $9 billion deficit related to COVID through 2023. We need to be very careful about making changes to the tax code at this precarious time. However, I'm open to hearing arguments for taxation reform. My primary concern is protecting middle and lower income families who are suffering, while at the same time providing needed services in a smart and efficient manner. These challenging times call for innovative thinkers. We need conversation and compromise. Any discussion about taxation I engage in will be with the needs of my district first.
All right, thank you so much, Frances. We're going to stay with you for the last question. Question number 4. Do you see the benefits of career-focused education and skills training programs? And if so, how do you believe the legislature can best support them? You have 2 minutes.
Career-focused education. Yes, the answer to that, the first part of that question is yes. I see the benefits of career-focused education. I believe there's not one size does not fit all in terms of how we each consider our professional and personal development. I think there should be paths available for all citizens in the state who wish to pursue occupational, technical, professional careers. I also support apprenticeships and that are offered through labor unions. I support education. I also support technical education that would start in high school and then continue on to technical schools if that is what the individual wants. Obviously, I would have to look at the budget. I mean, there's 2 parts to every budget. There's a revenue and there are the expenses. And you would have to look at how you could fund programs like that and find other funding sources if available. I believe I believe education is essential to a just, a healthy, and engaged community.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Chvatal. We're going to go ahead and move on to you, Mr. Klicker, for question number 4, last question. Do you see the benefits of career-focused education and skill training programs? And if so, how do you believe the legislature can best support them? You have 2 minutes.
You know, I think the best thing to do is not only put money into education because it's a constitutional obligation to do so, but I think the legislature needs to really reevaluate where that money is going and how and what direction it goes regarding where that money's spent. And primarily is the technical schools, your vocational schools, trade schools, really need to have more of an emphasis put on those because we're losing a lot of our skilled labor in some of the trades. I don't think it needs to start in the college age area, but in the high school level. I really believe that we have to really put our focus into teaching our youth starting at the high school age, because many of them don't look at going to a 4-year university for getting that for a long time career. It just doesn't fit them. And I think we need to open up and come up with some ideas at the legislature level that will provide the funding and the means for to put our kids back into the workforce, because we're losing that every day.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Klicker, and a huge thank you to both of you. That's going to go ahead and close out the question and answer part of this forum. So we're going to go ahead and end the forum with closing statements. You will both have 1 minute. And Ms. Chvatal, since you opened, we're going to actually start with Mr. Klicker for the first closing statement. Sorry about that. You have 1 minute.
The people of the 16th legislative district have a decision to make. We need to look at, are we wanting to pay more taxes, spend more money in our state budget, or do we want to create job recovery and put people back to work in the state of Washington? We're dealing in the COVID-19 crisis, and it's been very difficult for a lot of people, but there's a lot of people out of work. We need to be able to give them employment again. But part of that is to reduce regulation, create business recovery, and create tax incentives and also grant programs that will help the businesses employ those people. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to being your next legislature. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Klicker. Ms. Chvatal, go ahead with your closing statement. You have 1 minute.
Thank you to the Tri-City Chamber of Commerce and to the sponsors of this forum. Thanks for participating, Mark. And for the folks who are viewing this, for their interest and attention. In Olympia, I will approach an issue with concern and curiosity. I do not know all the answers, and one size does not fit all. I will work hard to remain open, hear my colleagues, listen to stakeholders and opposing ideas. As your legislator, I will strive to craft law that is in the people's best interest, to make things better, safer, more equitable, and healthier. I will work with anyone to solve problems, and I will not belittle those with differing opinions. Government derives its legitimacy from the people to whom it must be answerable. No one should be left behind. I am Frances Chvatal, and I respectfully ask for your vote in November. For more information about my campaign, please visit www.electfrances.com. And remember to wear your mask and vote. Thank you.
All right, Frances Chvatal and Mark Klicker, thank you so much for both being here and for your participation. We really appreciate it. And to everyone watching, we appreciate you taking your time to be with us for the Tri-City Regional Chamber's 2020 Candidate Forum, featuring candidates running for the Washington State House of Representatives in the 16th District, Position 1. And so as we begin to count down to Election Day on November 3rd, please remind your friends in the 16th Legislative District to watch, share, and get out to vote. You can find this video and other candidate forum videos on the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce website at www.tricityregionalchamber.com. And again, a huge thank you to the Chamber, KV, the candidates, and the sponsored Cascade Natural Gas, GISA Credit Union, JLH Group, and Hayden Homes. And especially to all of you watching, thank you so much. Again, I'm Madeline Hagan with KVU News, reminding you all to vote. Thanks.